What's going on, guys and girls? I hope you are having an awesome week so far. I just want to personally thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of RNT Fitness Radio, and I can guarantee you that this one will definitely not disappoint. You're going to love this one. You're going to hear me allude to this during the episode, but out of I think this is maybe the 39th episode now, this is the first one that I was actually kind of nervous for. So we're interviewing a guy called Bedros Keuilian, who I hugely admire and look up to. So I was actually a little bit starstruck for the first time with this one. Bedros has an amazing backstory. So we're going to get straight into that within the first sort of 5 minutes of this podcast. We're going to hear Bedros' his start in life and then where he's at now. And I guarantee that no matter where you are at currently, whether you're employed by somebody else, whether you're self-employed, whether you're in between jobs, you will find elements of his story applicable to you. And I hope that it gives you kind of that drive to succeed that it gives me whenever I listen back to it. I've listened to probably almost every podcast that Bedros has put out over the last couple of years. And I still love listening to the story again and again. So I'm not going to go into what we cover in this episode. Usually I give you sort of like a heads up. I'm just going to simply leave it at listen to the intro. And from there, I guarantee that you will not want to close the episode. Bedros brings the fire. He brings the energy. He brings the humor, as well as the knowledge, the experience, and just an all-round really, really cool guy. So enjoy. How was Box and Burn?
Box and Burn was actually a really fun experience, man. So I've known Tony for a short while now, maybe half a year, and he seems like a pretty intense guy when you meet him. And having a very non-confrontational attitude, I can talk my way out of any fight. I was, pretty intimidated when he said, "Hey, after I interview you for your podcast, I want to take you in the ring and work with you a little bit." But he was so good, such an expert, and so great at getting me to just chill out. Yeah.
Yeah, we were actually there this time last week. So we were on Jay's Renegade weekend.
Yes.
He took us down there, and I was like a fish out of water.
We got completely destroyed by him.
Oh, it killed me. Yeah.
It's a fun experience though, right? I mean, to get into a ring with like a professional.
It was surreal. It was awesome. It was so good. But I was looking at Akash gasping, my hands like feeling like they got 10 kilo dumbbells attached to them. Yeah. It was, it was quite something. So,
good for you.
Good. So I know that you're probably sick of telling this story by now, but it's such a good story. And I think it has a cool sort of underlying message that we'll be doing a disservice to our listeners if we didn't ask you to retell it.
Yeah.
Talk us through who Bedros is, where he started, how you ended up coming to sort of, the land of opportunity. Give us the lowdown.
Yeah. So the easiest way to describe who I am and what I do is I kind of look at myself as the immigrant edge and the American dream. And I always say that to people because, to think that I was 6 years old, living in a communist country in the Soviet Union, in Armenia, and my dad decided, they could make a movie on this. Like, my dad decided that he's going to bribe the Soviet government 25,000 rubles, and we're going to escape and go into Italy, and from Italy go into the United States as political refugees. And so when we made that great escape, I was 6 years old. My brother was 19. My sister was 21 or 22. And, we didn't speak English. We didn't understand the language. It was a family of five. The culture, we didn't understand. We understood that we want to go to the United States where there's freedom and opportunity. But short of that, you don't have the language, you don't have the culture, you don't have much money. We had $182 with us, and we didn't have anyone there to support us and show us around. My dad had a friend of a friend who allowed us to stay in his one-bedroom apartment for 30 days. He said, after 30 days, you got to go. So literally on day 2 of being in the United States, my dad had a paper route, and he was passing around papers at 2 a.m. By day 3 and 4, he was passing out papers, washing dishes at a pizzeria. By the week's end, he has a paper route, washing dishes, and also pumping gas at a gas station. And to see how my mom and dad and brother and sister, who were all older than me, obviously, were working so many jobs to make ends meet because we had to get out of that guy's apartment and get into our own apartment and be able to cover our own expenses. And so in this process, God, this is a crazy story every time I tell it. In this process, while the first 30 days, while my dad and family are working multiple jobs around the clock, my dad discovers that these grocery stores have giant dumpsters behind them. And the grocery stores will throw away food that is rotten or has expired. Now, when it expires, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gone bad. It just means that they can't sell it. And so my dad figured out that he'll bring me at night to these dumpsters and he'll lift me up into the dumpster because I was the smallest one of the family. And so that was my job. I was the breadwinner. They made money to get an apartment and pay for the electricity bill and phone bill, et cetera. And then my job was to be the breadwinner and go into the dumpster and get out food that was either, a little bit moldy, but we can pick off the mold and eat it, or expired, like cheese and eggs and milk, et cetera. And that's how we made by the first couple of months.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I love it because it stacked so much adversity. People go, man, how did you do this? Like, didn't you just want to kill yourself? And didn't you want to go back to Armenia where your dad had, more money and more, and being a part of the communist country, by the way, being in the Communist Party, he had a lot of clout. So in Armenia, the Soviet Union, we lived better than most people. Like in some mornings, I was eating bread with butter and caviar on top. And then all of a sudden, we come to the United States and I'm going to sleep hungry. So when you think about that impact that it has on a young boy's life, but I learned that adversity can be such an advantage. And when you don't have resources like food or money, you must get resourceful and find it. And I use both of those things today in my life whenever I'm dealing with adversity in business or in fitness or in health or relationships. I realize this is an advantage. It's an opportunity to grow. And then when I don't have the resources, I don't just stop like most people do and go, well, I don't know how to make a website, or I don't know how to write an ebook, or I don't know how to start a business. I get resourceful and I start finding the people who have the solutions and ask them to mentor me, coach me, guide me.
Yeah. Awesome. I love hearing that story. Any podcast that I tune into that I've listened to, it's one of my favorite bits. Where is Bedros at now? So for the listeners that aren't sure on sort of where you're at and be honest, like the dues that you've paid in the industry, let's go through that.
Oh, Lord, man, I've certainly paid my dues. So that immigrant, communist, foreign kid who was eating out of dumpsters, and what I didn't tell you guys and your listeners is that, we moved around so much. And in my country, here in the United States, there's something called Section 8 housing. And it's for people who are well below the poverty line. Okay. And the government subsidizes the rent for this housing. But it's not always the best and cleanest apartments, if you know what I mean. And so one of the times when we lived in Section 8 housing, I was 8 years old, 2 years after I got here. I got lice. I got lice in my head, and my parents couldn't afford lice treatment. And so they had, every penny counted. And so my mom made my dad siphon out gasoline from a parked car, and she washed my hair with gasoline, with petrol, right? And again, when I think about this, if I saw that happening today, I would call the police because I would imagine this woman's about to light this young boy on fire. But in 1982, in Anaheim, California, that's what you do, man. If you're a foreigner and you're a mom and you want to kill the lice. And so today, I grew up, and my diet wasn't obviously, when you come to this country and you're a foreigner, your diet's not dialed in. Your parents don't put you into sports. It was just survival for a decade. And so I never played any sports, never really cared about how I ate. And by the time I got into high school, I was about 35 pounds overweight. And I was like a fat kid. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking as senior year was coming up that, I really, really would like to go to prom. And I knew the girl that I wanted to go to prom with. Her name was Nakaya. And I thought that if I could just work out and lose weight and get in shape, then senior year, when I come back from the summer break, I can ask her to the prom. So the summer before senior year, I asked a friend from class to teach me how to work out. He played football for the school. So he took me to the school gym, and it was the most intimidating environment ever, guys. Like, I'm talking about, like, guys are grunting and lifting heavy weights. And here I am with, what was I, 16, 17 years old with love handles shaped like a pear, trying to make my way into this gym with this guy. But he taught me how to work out. And I spent the rest of the summer working out and eating right. I came back the senior year, 35, 40 pounds lighter and with some muscle on my body. And while I felt good about myself, I had more confidence, more self-esteem, obviously greater health. I never really had enough confidence to ask Nakaya to the prom. So while I never went to the prom, the desire to take that girl to the prom completely changed my trajectory in life. Mm-hmm. And, I went into the personal training space after high school. I decided to become a personal trainer. Like most personal trainers, I thought that if I'm just a good trainer and I can deliver results, well, gosh, people will spread my name word of mouth. And truth be told, I only had 3 clients the first 2 years. And so I had a side job. I was a fry cook at Disneyland, and I also was a bouncer at a bar. And I remember thinking and telling to one of my clients, I don't know any police officers, doctors, attorneys who have side jobs, yet I know plenty of personal trainers who also have a second or third job just to make ends meet. And he said, can I mentor you? Can I teach you how to sell? Can I teach you how to become an entrepreneur? Can I teach you how to market? And I said, absolutely. And he completely changed my life. His name is Jim Franco. He's still alive and well today, and we still keep in touch. And it's because of Jim Franco and my father taking the risk to move us to the United States and escape communism that today I'm the founder and CEO of Fit Body Boot Camp. We're a 2-time Inc. 5000 listed company. We're entrepreneurs, 350th fastest growing company franchise out of 175,000 franchises this year. 700 locations worldwide, 1,800 coaching clients. I'm authoring a book. I truly am the immigrant edge and the American dream. And I'm here to depict to the world that if this foreigner could do it, God knows anybody can.
Awesome. Perfect. Thanks for that, Bedros. Perfect.
Amazing story. So have you always been in California then? From the
yes. Yeah. And I asked my dad, I said, why California? He goes, first of all, he loved the Beach Boys. So even though this is a crazy story, even though we were in Armenia, a communist country ran by the Soviet Union, my dad had Jordache jeans, he had Ray-Ban sunglasses, he had Adidas shoes, and he listened to Elvis and the Beach Boys. He was very Americanized. He loved the Western culture, and he would buy this stuff on the black market. And of course, the Beach Boys were from Southern California, and in Armenia, the weather is very cold, like 9 months out of the year, like snowstorms and ice. And so he said, I never wanted to see snow again. So I came to California because I had 50 states to choose from. And why not come to the best state? And I'm so thankful that he did.
I like that. So, Bedros, if you don't mind us asking, what routes did your siblings go down? Like, are they also gone down the entrepreneurial route, or did you sort of break the mold?
You know what? I did sort of break the mold. I suppose you can say my brother went down no one's ever asked this question, Adam. That was a really good question, dude.
Thanks.
I suppose you can say that my brother went down the entrepreneurial road. He is a real estate agent. So he does, build his own schedule. He does have a broker that he works under, and he sells homes. Mm-hmm. And in fact, he's my real estate agent because I also have many rental properties around town here.
Yeah.
My sister, on the other hand, works for me, which is really cool. She just turned 60. By the way, add to all that, I'm 14 years younger than my brother and 16 years younger than my sister. That's because I'm the oops baby. My parents didn't think they could have a child again, and so my dad would just would let it rip. And for lack of a better term,
there we go, Akash. You know what we were talking about last week?
Yeah,
that 30 cut off. Doesn't
and so
doesn't apply.
Hey, like I said, man, I'm going to be transparent. And so anyway, so here I am, ta-da! So you add to that, and so my sister is 60 years old, and God, here's another story for you because you asked that question. One of the things I hated most as a kid is that I was helpless, right? Other than going in the dumpster and getting food out, I wasn't working and contributing. And when we got kicked out from apartments, and when my brother and sister and dad and mom got in fights with people because we're foreigners, they would literally yell at us, go back to your own country, you effing foreigner, like you don't belong here, etc. I would feel so helpless. Yeah. And one day my sister came home from work. She worked at a pizzeria and she was a waitress. And I guess when you're working your shift, you have like a cup of water or a cup of soda. And the gentleman that owned the pizza store, the pizza shop, would drink out of her cup to make sure that it wasn't soda pop, to make sure it was just water, so that, she's not stealing, right? And she would come home crying to my mom and dad saying, like, I hate working for this guy. Every day he's drinking out of my cup to taste whether I'm stealing soda or drinking water, and I always drink water. And I remember thinking to myself as my sister was crying, like, one day I'm going to have the kind of business where she's going to work for me. And then I remember telling her that. Ironically, I'd forgotten that I told her that. And so when I hired her a few years ago to work for me, she goes, hey, do you remember that I was crying one day and you asked me, or you told me that, hey, one day I'll have a business and you're going to work for me and I'm going to pay you well? I go, yeah, in fact, I do. And so she works for me. She does all my customer support. And, but I am the one that's really most entrepreneurial.
That must be a pretty awesome feeling to be able to, have said that years and years and years ago. And now there you are.
Yeah. I mean, talk about manifestation. I really believe I manifested that.
Amazing. Awesome. Let's switch gears a little bit. So one of our other really popular podcasts was with Craig Ballantyne.
Yes.
Really popular one. And it was actually
but just for the record, Craig is a horrible, awful human. And my podcast will be better. No, I love Craig. He's like a brother to me, and we're business partners.
I'm actually I'm on Craig's workshop on Wednesday in London.
Oh, good. I actually went through the first one. Myself and Jay Ferrugia went to his first one.
Really? Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was it was Craig that had put us in touch with you to extend for you to come onto our podcast. What's the story there? How did you guys meet? How did you become business partners?
Oh, man.
Talk us through the history there.
Dude, you asked such great questions. So the history with Craig Ballantyne is very unique. In 2009, I started. So I had about 40 or 50 coaching clients that I would do phone coaching with, right? Yep. Probably no different than how maybe you guys work with your clients at times. And I would do phone coaching with, and I hate to admit this, but I told you I'm going to be fully transparent. And one day, and I would do all my coaching calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And one particular Thursday, guys, it was like my 8th or 9th call of the day. I was sitting on my couch in my office, and at some point the sitting went to laying down on my couch. And before you know it, as I'm talking to a coaching client, guys, I fell asleep. And the only thing I remember was, hello, Bedros, hello. And in a panic, and when he woke me up in a panic, instead of going back to the call, I hung up on him and then called him back. And his name is Butch Nieves. He's bad line. I said, Butch, what happened? The phone got disconnected. So anyway, that's when I decided, like, you know what? I got to do this in a group environment. I can't do one-on-one coaching anymore. I got to find a way to scale this. And so in 2009, I launched my mastermind called the 7-Figure Formula Mastermind.
Yep.
And I just sent out an email to like 5 or 6 guys. And I said, hey guys, I think you guys would be a good fit. Craig Ballantyne, who I knew of, and we exchanged emails, but I never had met. He was one guy, and he goes, well, I'm in your mastermind. Count me in. But I think Vince Del Monte should join. So Vince Del Monte was one of the first members. Craig Ballantyne, Josh Carter, Cable McElderly, and a handful of couple other guys, and one girl, Samantha Taylor. And Craig 1.0, and I'll call him that, and he'll tell you that in his workshops. Craig 1.0 was a bit of an asshole, curmudgeon-y, crusty, socially inept, robotic person. Yeah. And so after the mastermind ended, dude, I took them all out to dinner after 2 days. And because he showed no emotion or excitement, I kind of waited until it was just me and him walking across the street to the restaurant. And I put my arm around his shoulder and I said, hey, Craig, listen, it seems like I wasn't really able to help you this weekend. So if you want a refund, look, I'm okay, man. We'll give you a refund and you just go on your own way. And he put his hand right across my shoulder and he goes, what are you talking about, bro? I loved it. It was a great weekend. There's so many things I'm going to do to grow my business. Well, I say, God damn it. You could have at least showed me some emotion so that I could, experience that. And so over the next few years, he was a coaching client. And then one day I decided, hey, I'm going to start a new mastermind group to teach information marketing. Because at the time I was selling ebooks and courses, et cetera, doing really well with it. But for business opportunity seekers in the fitness space. But Craig was selling, of course, Turbulence Training and all of his recurring products.
Yep.
And he was such a great student in my 7-Figure Formula Mastermind. I said, Craig, I want to start this mastermind, but I think I need someone like you in the group to help me run it. Would you want to partner up? And this was probably 2011.
Okay.
And so for almost a decade now, we've been business partners and dear friends, and we do the Empire podcast together. We now have the Empire Mastermind together. I've seen him evolve into Craig 2.0, who's kind and generous and willing to listen. He's got this amazing ability. I'll even go as far as to call it a gift. He's got outside eyes where he can look into your life and see the obstacles and bottlenecks that you're experiencing and tell you how to get around it, over it, under it, or through it. And before he ever wrote his book, The Perfect Day Formula, like, I was the guy who was unstructured, undisciplined. I've got amazing work ethic, and I made millions of dollars off burning the candle on both ends. But he had structure. I just had go, go, go. And before he ever wrote the book, Perfect Day Formula, like, I was the guinea pig who learned structure and personal discipline through environmental exposure to Craig, by being around him for years. So while I asked him to be my business partner, he became the coach that I needed to scale my multiple 7-figure business to a multiple 8-figure business and beyond, because I had so much structure and discipline in my life.
Yeah, I'd read a little bit about Craig helping you with that side of it. And that's the reason why I'm on his workshop on Wednesday. Is it kind of sounds similar, doesn't it, Akash, to you and I, where I'll get the work done, but I'm terribly inefficient, and I'll still be doing emails at midnight. Whereas Akash has it.
I actually took pride in being so inefficient. I don't know why. I took pride in having this immense work ethic and being able to operate off 2 hours a day and then take an Adderall pill in the morning and then just keep going. When in reality, I sleep about 6 to 7 hours a day now and have much more balance, and I'm structured and I'm present in my kids and my family's life, which is important.
Bedros, how do you structure your day now?
Oh, dude. If you want the greatest detail, your readers, the listeners can go to mymorningroutine.com and look up my routine. But my morning routine starts the night before, just like Craig taught me. I make a list of the 3 to 5 things I'm going to dominate the next morning. And those things that I do are strictly based on my 5% rule. I believe that as the CEO, you, me, people who lead their businesses, lives, etc., as the CEO, as the leader, there's about 5% of the things you need to focus on. And I used to focus on the trivial 95% as well. Oh, I can make a landing page. I can make a website. I can turn a Word doc into a PDF. Who cares? You can hire someone overseas to do that for you for pennies. So I make a list of the 3 to 5 things the night before I go to bed. And this way I've done a brain dump. I'm not thinking about it while I'm sleeping. When I wake up at between 5 and 5:30, I never hit snooze. I just wake up when my alarm goes off, turn it off, and off I go. And I'll have coffee, water, protein shake, shower. And by 6:30 a.m., I've gone through my gratitude exercise. Craig taught me to meditate. I don't meditate well. I've got the attention span of a hummingbird. And so, you too, right? Yeah. And so, dude, try doing this. So while I'm drinking my protein shake, by this point it's around 6:15 or so in the morning. I've already showered, had coffee and water. I'm playing with my dog Cookie. And every time I throw the ball to her, while she's running, I think about the 3 people I'm most grateful for in my life. And then I think about the 3 things that I'm most grateful for in my life. And I really just take 3, 4, 5 minutes to feel those things. And then before I go in, after I throw the ball with my dog 8, 10, 12 times, I just text all 3 of those people and I thank them for having an impact in my life. And it's the most selfish thing we can do, by the way, because while I'm adding value to their life, every single person, without even exception, has replied with, "Thank you so much. This came at the best possible time. I can't tell you how much it means to me. I appreciate it." And I got to tell you, to start your morning off with having 3 people tell you, "Thank you, you're a great human being for pumping me up," my day starts pretty awesome, man. So by that point, by 6:30, I'm sitting on my couch and I'm working off my list from the night before. My phone is, I turn off the volume. I flip the screen side down and I push it away from me. And by doing that, I'm not even tempted to see the notifications, flashes, whatever. I go through my 3 to 5 things, whether phone calls, emails, email blasts, whatever I got to do. Then I'll head to the gym by 9 a.m., get my workout in. Then I come here to the headquarters where I start my work at 11 o'clock. And typically 12 noon right now is when I do my first podcast. I mean, you could set your clock to my morning routine.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that. Would you say the phone thing is a common one that you see people struggle with?
Oh my God, dude. It's not only a common one, it has become, if you guys ever see me on the news for just raging out and beating the shit out of someone, it's because I went to a restaurant. I always tell my wife, I go, "You see that couple right there?" Yeah, well, there's not 2 of them, there's 3 of them, because it's either the wife or the husband. There's always someone who's got the phone sitting next to them. So it's the husband, the wife, and the phone, and his attention is constantly going to the phone. And dude, all you got to do is go to your notification section and turn off notification for Facebook, for email, for texts, for Instagram, all your social medias.
Yeah.
Because this way, there's something called variable response. And when you get a notification, you go, "Ooh, I wonder what it is." It's like a slot machine. You pull the handle and you don't know whether you're going to lose your $5 or hit a jackpot or maybe get $20. Variable response. You get a notification. You don't know if it's good, bad, indifferent. Someone's talking you up. Someone's talking you down. And you're now tempted to go and look at it instead of be present with whoever you're with. And so by turning off notifications and always leaving it off and then having my phone upside down and away from me, I don't hear it, see it, experience it, and I'm not tempted to grab it.
Perfect. And then I take it you schedule time in, because obviously, you have to be active to some degree on social media.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I take it that's then scheduled, right? Rather than your phone using you, you're using your phone.
Exactly. Most people are held captive by their phones and they are consumers of other people's content. I use my phone as a tool to create content. I'm a creator. Most people are consumers. When you look around, the creator always makes more money and makes a bigger impact. Consumers usually are always in a state of anxiety or depression because they have this constant feeling of missing out, this fear of missing out. Oh my gosh, look what so-and-so is doing. Oh, look what Adam is doing. Oh, look at that. They're doing this. Well, look, you're consuming everyone's content. Odds are the content's all fake anyway. They're putting their best foot forward. They're normal people. They have normal problems. They have normal anxieties like we do. Most people need to realize that social media is there for the creators and not the consumers. The creators are the ones who make the money and make the bigger impact.
Perfect. Which actually segues us on nicely. So talk about content, and Instagram right now is probably one of the biggest platforms. At what point do you think the bubble will burst on Instagram? And if we've got sort of fitness entrepreneurs listening right now, what can they do to make sure that they're leveraging it in the current moment before the bubble bursts?
Man. Okay. All right. Good question. What is today's date? Today's date is
13th.
13th. Thank you. Today is the 13th of August. And why that's important is everyone listening to this, whenever this comes out, everyone needs to go to Instagram and they need to look up the August 13th post of Amanda Bucci's. And Amanda Bucci is a dear friend. She's a great, she's a social media influencer. I guess she's got 500,000 followers, a fitness person, does coaching and consulting in the fitness space. But today, this morning, she put out a post that inspired me to do a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live, which those of you watching on my Facebook right now can go to Instagram after this and watch my Instagram Live before it goes away in 24 hours. But basically, she talked about, look, everyone's got these big followings, but no one's making money because they're too afraid to ask for money from their audience. In fact, they'd rather get recognition, approval, than money, which is unfortunate because money is what moves the needle of impact. Money is what buys you freedom and a lifestyle and of course, peace of mind, right? Mm-hmm. And it's so ironic because 2 days ago, Craig sent me a screenshot of someone who sent him and he redacted the name, but it was a screenshot of a person who had 1.2 million followers on Instagram. And he said, Craig, but I'm broke. I only have $1,000 in my bank account.
Yeah, I saw this.
You saw that, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I wanted to smash my phone because so many people spend so much time trying to build likes instead of leads and turning those leads into clients. So I don't know when the bubble will burst, but I can tell you that if and when the Instagram bubble bursts, there's another bubble and another one coming. Like Facebook's not dead. I spend $250,000 a month on Facebook driving traffic for our Fit Body Bootcamp franchise, and we're growing by 20, 25 locations per month. And so that bubble hasn't burst, and we're just using Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube right now and crushing it. But people need to realize if it's up to Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, they just want you to be a content provider.
Yeah.
And so think about all these people who are shooting photos, shooting videos, editing them out, color correcting them, and posting them. And then they get a few likes and views and they go, yay, I feel good about myself. But then when they have to pay their mortgage, their rent, their car payment, their kids' medical bills, they go, shit, I'm broke. And they start a GoFundMe account, right?
Yeah.
I got an idea. Take that following and monetize it. And so I'm a big believer in that. And Craig and I have a formula. If I'm not making $2 per follower, I'm not doing my job right as an entrepreneur. And the people who pay more attention anyway. So I've conditioned all of my followers on all 3 platforms. When you pay attention, and my content has greater meaning and significance to you rather than just a dopamine hit because Bedros said something that really, really, felt good for me in the moment, but because you haven't paid me, you haven't experienced the money lost, then it fades away. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
That's a great point.
It does.
So to really answer your question, what should fitness entrepreneurs or online coaches do? Yes, don't worry about building a following. They spend too much time trying to build a following with apps and services and all this crap. Put out great content that is focused on what's in it for them, the viewer, instead of, hey, look at me, I've got pecs, I got traps, I got this, I got that. Well, that's great, but what does the viewer care? There's about 1,000 of you, everywhere. I put out great content. My stuff is growing by about 200 people a day. I love that.
Yeah, I love reading all of your stuff. And you're right. We see it a lot where we look at other fitness professionals and it's just photos of their abs, selfies.
Yeah.
A caption that they've tried tying into it somehow, some cheesy quote. There's no real value to the person watching it. They just scroll through and, oh yeah, they look good. That's interesting.
Yeah, and they might give them a like or something, and because of that, they get some validation. But take that like to the bank and see what you can do with it. Nothing.
Yeah, they don't put money in their pocket. So a bit of a selfish question now on our part. So as we mentioned at the beginning, our business is based on high-ticket, one-to-one online coaching. What are 3 things that we should be doing to maximize client acquisition?
Number 1, pump out more testimonials than you think you need. Like today, demonstration of social proof, comma, dramatic demonstration. Like I'm talking big weight loss, big transformations. Most people think, well, I've got my 10 testimonial pictures, before and after pictures, I'm good. No, get 1,000. Like forget 100, get 1,000, because you got to have a testimonial reel over and over again. And you could use that so many ways on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube by peppering it into your content. Number 2, do more live videos. And if you're a coach, you should be doing more live videos on the 3 platforms. And here's why. All 3 platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, when you do live videos, they actually give you, they look at your ads. So if you're going to run ads on Facebook, for example, to get more leads and clients, they will charge you less and look at your campaigns more favorably because you are consistently doing Facebook Lives, which is why I've got my camera set up right now and I'm doing a Facebook Live. I do a Facebook Live all the time from my car, from a workshop like this, from a live event that I'm doing. And if you can do 2 to 3 Facebook Lives a day, or I'm sorry, not a day, a week, then you're going to put yourself in a position that when you're running ads, you're going to pay the least amount per click, and Facebook's going to look at you in a favorable way compared to someone else trying to market with you. And the third thing you can do is actually learn to convert dollars, advertising dollars, into leads. There's a formula for it. And anyone that says, well, my industry is different, my customers are different, my market is different, the way I run my business doesn't lend itself to ads, I call BS on that. Learn to buy traffic. Don't just count on organic social media traffic. Spend $1, get $1 back, and then sell on the back end. And what I mean by that is my dear friend Frank Kern was here 3 days ago, and he's probably one of the best traffic buyers on the planet. And he says the person who accepts the fact that they can spend $1 and then just get $1 back, break even, but then have that lead and build a know, like, and trust factor to convert them into a client later, wins the game. Too many people who are even trying to spend money are trying to make money right out the gate. Yeah. And when they don't make the money, they quit and go away. So if you can spend money for advertisements, if you can run Facebook Lives, and of course, if you can, whatever the first thing was there, then you're going to kick ass.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Let's talk masterminds. So right now, there's quite a lot of masterminds out there in the fitness space. But I would say that, with the $50,000 buy-in and the experience that you and Craig have got, yours was one of the elite, let's be honest.
Sure.
What is it that you are looking for? Like, when would you say somebody is ready to make the jump into your mastermind? What?
All right. Well,
I've heard you talking about a couple of students of yours in the past that they weren't quite ready and then they come back and now they've leveled up. What is it?
Yes. That particular guy, one of those particular guys was Jason Phillips.
Yes, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to mention him or not.
Oh, totally. Yeah. He's fine with it. Like I've asked him. But the best clients for myself and Craig are people who are already making $100,000 to $500,000 a year, meaning they understand how to sell a product, drive leads, deliver a service.
Mm-hmm.
The people we don't want to work with are the people who go, I have this idea and I want to turn it into a business. Because most of those people, and this is why we dissolved the Info Mastermind group we had, it was a personal trainer who was just burnt out from working in his gym or his boot camp or driving to people's homes, says, I've got this idea and I want to create an ebook. In their head, they think by creating an ebook and by me being so special and unique, because I'm a unique snowflake, and by putting that ebook out there and putting a buy now button on it, people are going to buy it. The truth of the matter is you're going to create your ebook or your course or your continuity program, or in your case, the coaching program, and then you're going to start marketing it. You're not going to get any leads. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to lose more money than you gained in the beginning. If you have a business partner, you might even become adversarial for a little bit, but you have to work through that relationship. And over time, as you begin to figure out traffic buying, communication, because you're no longer just email marketing. Now you're using email, text message, videos, right? So you have to connect in different ways. You have to understand the psychology of persuasion and influence. And so those people are, to me, are not the ideal client, because we end up being motivators and trying to motivate them and inspire them to take action. I want the people that have already taken action and they go, hey, look, I've tasted what 100,000 tastes like. I don't know what 1,000,000 tastes like. I can add more zeros to your 100,000. I can add more zeros to your 500,000. I will probably fight you if I give you a formula and then you come back 90 days later to the next mastermind and go, well, I made my first video, but then I got someone left a bad comment and it hurt my feelings and I stopped. And so rather than obviously fighting someone, we just dissolved that mastermind and I told Vince, I said, Vinny, you got to start an info mastermind because you probably have more patience than I do these days. And so the Empire Mastermind is for more seasoned people. And I'm not putting anybody down. Like in the beginning, I was that guy that needed to be motivated and inspired. And 100 people can say I'm an amazing guy. And one person told me I'm a snake oil salesman and I would, go into the darkness and I need people to build me up and tell me I'm a great human being. Today, I'm fresh out of fucks. And so I don't care if...
I like that. I haven't heard that before. I like that. I'm fresh out.
Yeah, I'm fresh out. And so because of that, you can run my name through the mud all you want. I'm going to keep making money. I'm going to make sure I have a great lifestyle. I'm going to serve the charities and the causes that I believe in. So those are the types of people we want to work with now.
I like that one. Let's move on to Man Up.
Yeah.
So what does Man Up mean to you? And ultimately, what led you to write the book?
Yes. Man up to me means one simple thing. Stop making excuses, take control of your situation, and rise to your potential. Like, do you guys believe that as humans, we are the top of the food chain in the animal kingdom?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, probably. Yet when you go and look at most humans who have, never mind 20, 30 pounds overweight, who have put on 100, 200, 300 pounds of weight, their doctor's telling them they've got diabetes, hypertension, we've got an amputated leg because you've got gout, yet they still continue to binge on shit, and then they leave the wrappers and the cups in their car. We live like savages. And I'm not ripping on just people who are morbidly obese. I'm talking about people who then profess one thing but practice another life. And you see this from preachers to presidents, right? President Bill Clinton comes to mind, right? The leader of the free world decided that Monica Lewinsky should give him a blowjob in the Oval Office. Like, that's a pretty messed up thing. And so if we are humans and we're top of the food chain, why don't we human up and why don't we man up? And to me that means, but most people have excuses. Well, he probably thought, well, Hillary's not really good at doing this for me, so I'm going to get Monica to do it. Or maybe the person thinks that I've got emotional problems or I was abused, and so food makes me feel good. That's great. In the moment, food makes you feel good. But then you feel guilt. Then you start feeling shame. And then before you know it, you go down the dark rabbit hole. And so most of us need to go, do I have a greater potential to accomplish in life? Yes. Whether that's as an entrepreneur, in your health, in your relationship, in your mind-money connection. If you have greater potential, then why don't you man up, stop making excuses, take control, because most people believe that it's in someone else's hands. Oh, well, if the economy was better, I'd be successful. If my wife was just nicer to me, I wouldn't cheat on her. If people didn't abuse me when I was a child, I wouldn't binge eat. Okay, those are all putting excuses on everyone else. take control of the situation, and then rise to your potential. And that's what Man Up means to me.
Awesome.
Bedros, how did you go about writing the book?
Well, I wrote this book because I was a horrible, horrible leader in Fit Body Bootcamp. So while Fit Body Bootcamp is breaking all types of franchise records right now in our growth, just 5.5 years ago in 2012, 2013, we were losing more franchise locations than we were gaining. And I had a business partner at the time, and instead of manning up and taking control, I blamed my business partner. I blamed my employees. I blamed the fact that we had just got out of a bad economy and not enough people are buying franchises. And I blamed my employees because they didn't support our current franchisees well enough and we would lose them. And I blamed my wife for not understanding why we're losing money and why she's breaking my balls about our bank account being empty. In reality, I should have talked to my business partner about the fact that we're not meant to be business partners. Either you take the business or I'll take the business. I finally manned up and had that conversation. I finally manned up and had the conversation with my employees because I was too approval seeking. I was too, I didn't want to hurt your feelings. And I didn't want you to think that I'm a bad guy. But in reality, I was in a position of leadership, yet I was a horrible leader. I had no clarity of vision. If you asked me in 2012, 2013, Bedros, how many Fit Body Bootcamp locations do you want? My answer would be a lot. And you would say, by when? And I would say, as soon as possible. Well, that is a pretty unclear vision. Today, I'm a better communicator. I'm more decisive than ever. I have clarity of vision. We want 2,500 Fit Body Bootcamp locations by the year 2023. I don't have employees anymore. I've got a team of 42 that are fucking fighter jets, not crop dusters. Like, I would go to a fucking war with most of these guys and gals. And I'm being very honest, with most. There's probably two that I wouldn't, right? And it's because we are on a unified front competing against people, our competition, and we're in it to win. That's what a team does. Employees, on the other hand, clock in a little late, clock out a little early, do the bare minimum to maintain employment. I don't want that. So really what led me to this was the fact that I was such a horrible leader. I had anxiety attack after anxiety attack. My relationship was headed towards divorce. Once again, I found myself overweight and out of shape. I was taking NyQuil and Vicodin to fall asleep every night. And then I would take Adderall and pre-workout to wake up in the mornings. I avoided all confrontation at all costs. And I decided that if I want this business to really succeed, I've got to step into my leadership role. And for some reason, guys, the day that I decided to step into my leadership role was the day I decided to have a conversation with my business partner. And I knew it was going to be a very difficult conversation. And as I'm driving to our office to talk to him, in the back of my mind, I keep coming up with excuses why I should turn the corner, go to Starbucks, go get a breakfast first. Maybe I should go back home and think about it. And I kept telling myself these 5 words: it's time to man up. It's time to man up. It's time to man up. I literally probably said that hundreds of times while driving from my home to my office to encourage myself, step by step, to come to the office, have this on. When I walked through the office door and I texted him like, hey man, we need to talk, I still thought maybe I could just talk about something different instead of parting ways. Then I said, dude, it's time to man up. 5 words. And I said, hey, whatever, let's call him Mike. Hey, Mike, we need to part ways now. We need to part ways because we're not meant to be in business together. We have an adversary relationship. Either you take the business or I'll take the business, but we need to figure this out. And to my surprise, his response was, I thought it would be, oh my gosh, you're a bad human being. I can't believe you're doing this. You're being cutthroat. How dare you? He said, you know what? I'm so glad you brought this up. This was a long time coming. Let's talk about it. And as I realized, for most of us, we don't have the conversations. We don't step into our leadership roles because we have this fear of letting people down, hurting their feelings, also known as anxiety. And as it turns out, anxiety is simply anticipation of future pain. And the future pain that you're anticipating when you're in an anxious state, what you're imagining and what the reality is, they're far apart. I imagined he would hate me. Our franchisees would think that I'm a cutthroat person and that this would be a very bad thing to do. In reality, he said, I'm so glad we're talking about this. It's long overdue. Let's sit down and talk. And it was the best thing we ever did. And it's time to man up at a time. Over a 2.5-year period, I started to turn my business around and we won our first accolades in the industry when in 2015, we became top 15 fitness franchises. And then it was just accolade after accolade after that. And I'm still a I'm still a work in progress as a leader. I will be a better leader next year and then the year after that. It's not a light switch. It's a dimmer switch over time. But there's 6 very specific pillars that I teach in here that will get you to man up and become a great leader to not only influence your business, but also your personal life and your relationship, your mindset, your finance, and your friendships.
Amazing.
How can
Bedros, in terms of your writing process, how did that go? How did you go about turning the idea into actual words and putting it into paper?
Guys, what number podcast is this for you?
I think it's like
38?
38, I think.
Did you guys study how to do this stuff? Did you, or are you organically good question askers?
This one's an organic one, yeah.
Okay, that was great. Again, yet another question no one asked. And so you think about what I do for a living, and you think about, you guys have probably followed me for a period of time, right?
Yeah.
If not for years. I'm an email marketer. I write blog posts. And of course, I write 800 to 1,500 word chunks. So Man Up manuscript, once I got the deal with my publisher, the manuscript, unbeknownst to me, I thought I was writing a cohesive, 65,000 word book. Once I sent the manuscript to the publisher, they sent it back with 6 pages, which is, by the way, excessive, because I reached out to my friend Lewis House, who was kind of helping me along the process. And I said, Lewis, I got 6 pages back, and they want it all fixed in like 2 weeks. He goes, 6 pages? There should only be like 1 page of notes. I go, no. There's like 8 pieces of notes on every page. And basically they told me, your book sucks. The content is good, but the way you write sucks. And I had written it in blog post style, like in chunks of thoughts, right? Because that's what a marketer does. And so I really thought that I could pull that off. Of course I didn't. So I reached out to Craig Ballantyne again. I said, hey, Craigie, I got 2 weeks to fix this thing. I have no idea how. Who's the best ghostwriter that we know? He said, Ryan Holiday. I said, the Ryan Holiday who's hard to get a hold of and very fragile at times? He goes, that's the one. I said, can you make an email introduction? He said, sure. And so he made the email introduction. And then I replied to Ryan. I said, Ryan, this is Bedros. I'm writing this book. Here's the manuscript. Here's the 6 pages of notes from the publisher. It's a world of shitstorm. I don't know what to do. But I hear that you charge $30,000, and I've got $30,000 in a brown paper bag, all cash, to give to you if you can fix this. He replied within minutes, you have a deal. And had it not been for Ryan Holiday and his writing partner, his last name is Sony. I forget what his first name is. And his writing partner, I certainly want to give him credit, but I forget his name now. Man, they saved my book in those 2 weeks. They fixed it. I gave it back to the publisher. And what was great is, in the margins of my manuscript, there was notes from Ryan Holiday to me, like, hey, Bedros, we did this. If you don't like it, change it back to that. Of course, I loved everything they did. I mean, they made my story sound amazing finally. And I sent it to the publisher, and the publisher goes, wait a minute, you had Ryan Holiday rewrite this? Like, he ghostwrites like some of the best New York Times bestselling books. I go, yeah, I paid him. And that's when my publisher really started to take me serious. And was like, wait, if you had Ryan Holiday write this, like, we're really going to put a lot of marketing dollars and PR dollars behind this. So it ended up being one of the best things ever. But it was a very painful process, gentlemen. It's something that I would never do again, but I'm going to, because that's what produces personal growth. Yep. But I will do it with Ryan as my right-hand man.
Perfect. Ryan's an excellent writer, so
amazing.
One of the best guys there.
Well, I personally, I can't wait to get my hands on it. So for the listeners here that are wanting to get hold of it, how can they go about pre-ordering? It's next month, isn't it? It's released.
Yeah. The book actually comes out September 18, 2018. Here's another piece of fun fact for you guys. My publisher said, hey, congratulations. We're done editing your book. We've set your publishing date, September 11th, 2018. And wait, September 11th? I replied, are you kidding? Is this a joke? Like, do we not remember what happened?
Yeah,
well, then it was just another Tuesday in September, right? Yeah. Of course, I'm not going to be the guy that says, hey, let's never forget 9/11. Oh, by the way, buy Man Up.
Right. Let's push that back.
Yeah, so we pushed it back by another week, which is why it became September 18th. But yeah, the easiest way to pre-order this right now is to go to Amazon.com, and they can pre-order it. And of course, it would mean a lot to me. And this is not fluff. This is firsthand experience from a guy who was a loser as a leader in many facets, not just in business. And I was able to turn it around by learning and understanding these 6 pillars that I've made very easy to understand, digest, and apply to your life and business, which to me, I wish I had my book, a decade ago. It would have made my life a lot easier.
Awesome. And let's do a bit of a 180 to finish.
Sure.
Your sleeve. How did that come about, your sleeve?
Oh, my sleeve.
It's awesome. I've even reached out to the guy that designed it for you. I dropped him a DM. I haven't heard back yet.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's Instagram, right? He's probably crazy busy.
Yeah.
Talk us through, how long had you been wanting it for? I know it's Viking based. Like, what does that mean to you? How did you go about it?
Oh my God. Yet another great question. You guys are amazing. You should just do everybody's podcast for them. I'm telling you, I've been interviewed by, short of like Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, Lewis House, like those guys are legendary. They're, but there's so many people who just have like the set 8 to 10 questions. And it's like, come on, man.
Oh no, I spent a good hour and a half this morning on the sofa. Writing these.
So here's what happened. I've got my kids' hands tattooed on my back. So it started on my back about a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And it slowly worked its way in my mind. I was like, I'm going to get some kind of a warrior tattoo on my shoulder. And I didn't want it to go really below the sleeve line. But for 5 years, I thought about the warrior tattoo and what it would mean. And it would evoke an emotion. Well, you guys probably know most of my story. In Armenia, when we escaped Armenia, came to the United States, what he doesn't realize, he not only brought me to freedom, he freed me from constantly being molested by 2 older boys for 2 years, between the ages of 4 and 6.
Yeah.
When that happens to a young man over and over again, you kind of have some darkness, some rage, a chip on your shoulder, fire in your belly, rage in your eyes, as I like to say. And I've worked with a therapist the last probably 3 years addressing all this stuff and finally getting whole. My wife didn't know. No one knew. This was a secret that I kept. And my anger and rage is really what helped me build my empire, but it's also what helped me almost destroy it in 2012, 2013.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah. And so I wanted this warrior tattoo to evoke an emotion, but there was many emotions I wanted. I wanted darkness. I wanted rage. I wanted peace. I wanted wisdom. I wanted leadership. And so how do you get one warrior image to evoke all of that? Mm-hmm. So I decided it was going to be a half sleeve. Well, Robert Foe, being an amazing artist and in such high demand, as it turns out, I had a mutual friend who knows him, and he connected me to him. He goes, hey, I think I after I told him my story, he goes, I've got it for you. And so up on my shoulder is a Viking, and I just went with Vikings as the warriors. I really believe like they're just hardworking people who just work their ground until you fuck with them. And then they just go nuts, right? And I love that, and I love the Viking way. And they're not known to get on their boats. The things of where they get on their boats and go rape and pillage was actually folklore. They were just hardworking farmers who want to be left alone until you fuck with them, and then it's over. Yeah. And so there's a Viking holding a sword. He's got a face shield on, but you can tell his face shield's kind of crooked. You can't see one eye. The other eye is just dark and tired, but still on guard, right? So that's the darkness. There's one on the back of my tricep of a Viking just screaming, raging out with the blood of his enemies on his face. There's one on my elbow with a Viking with his sword down, looking out at the ocean, just looking for peace. There's a Viking here on the inner arm that's wisdom. And I got this one here in the inner arm because I always believe that wisdom is always hidden from us. Uh-huh. We're always looking for money and success and fame, but we should be looking for wisdom, and it's always hidden. So it's in a hidden spot. Of course, I believe in leadership. So I went with the leader, the Viking leader, on my hand, leadership up front. And everything on my forearm here is the battle for your soul. And so really it's all the emotions that I've had growing up. And I realized it's also parallel to the entrepreneur's life. Like, you're suffering in silence because none of your friends who have a 9-to-5 job can understand how making $30,000 in one day, but then losing $50,000 in the next week, how you can handle that. No, you can't explain that to people. You can only explain it to a fellow entrepreneur. So it's the plight of the entrepreneur where we become entrepreneurs because we're trying to build a better lifestyle. We're gaining wisdom as we do it. We get angry and rage out. We're looking for peace. We become better leaders. And it's the battle of the entrepreneurial way. You're fighting your competition, the economy, the government to get your business off the ground. So whether it's the process I went through as a child into entrepreneurship, or the fight of the entrepreneur, is just the whole battle scene there is what my forum is about. But it's a very meaningful thing that I spent 5 years thinking about. It was supposed to only stop at the half sleeve, but Robert said, I've got more of your story to tell, but I need more landscape. When he said, we're going to do my hand, I said, you're nuts. We can't do my hand. And then when he showed me the image of this leader, this Viking leader, because it's stone carved. It's supposed to be a stone carving of the Viking leader. And I was like, dude, let's do this. He goes, man, are you going to be okay? Like, you're going to take the stage and speak? You get paid to speak. What if people don't want to pay you to speak because of that? I go, that's okay. Let's do it. But so far, no one's batted an eye. Everybody loves it. And they understand that there's a deep meaning behind it for me.
It's amazing, isn't it? Like the work that a real tattoo artist like Robert can put all of that into.
Dude,
we already see a snapshot when you uploaded it to Instagram. I knew it was Viking based, and I thought, it looks badass. But it's not until you talk about the different phases of it. It's like, how long must that take him to sit and actually?
Yeah, exactly. And I told him specific things. I said, look, dude, I don't want animals. I don't want like wolves, because I know Vikings kept wolves as pets. I don't want wolves. I don't want any lions. I don't want any ships, like the typical Viking traditional stuff. I said, I want actual faces of Vikings to evoke these emotions. And he exceeded my expectation. And then the detail in the shading that he put in just blew me away. But there's a man who's done his talent for 30 years. And now, he has 12 apprentices who work under him. And talk about going from amateur to pro to a master. He's at that level of his craft.
Yeah. So he designed it, and he actually physically did the man hours. He inked it as well.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hopefully I get a response from him eventually.
How about I do it a connection? Maybe if you just send me a DM once we get off, I'll do a little introduction.
Yeah, that would be amazing if you could. That'd be really cool. Thank you. Yeah. Let's just finish on 3 real quick rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
So first one, I know you've been to Europe recently. What's your favorite city over here?
Oh, my favorite city in Europe that I've been to, I should say, is Rome. I love Rome. I love the history. And then I love, because I'm a pretty tightly wound, control freaky kind of guy. Yeah. And man, I was eating dinner at 11 o'clock in the evening, and I was drinking coffee in the evenings. It was so much history, such great people. I love Rome. Yeah.
Awesome. So you're having downtime with your family.
Yeah.
What's your favorite restaurant to go to, or favorite cuisine for all of you, the whole group?
Ooh, sushi. Believe it or not, we started my kids off eating sushi very early. And there's a restaurant about 2 miles away from my house called Sushi 10. The chef there, Aaron, he's an amazing chef. And I've traveled the world. I've had sushi everywhere, literally. And he's in the top 2 that I've eaten. The other one being in Manhattan I forget where, but I'll think of it. But anyway, Manhattan and Sushi 10 are the top 2 sushi joints, and my family loves it there. Yeah.
Your kids have got good taste.
They do. They do.
Last one. Who should we have on our podcast next?
Ooh, great question. Gosh, have you had Jason Phillips on your podcast yet?
No, that's a good shout, actually, because we've spoken to him. He's actually given us some advice a couple of times, because his model is relatively similar to ours. So actually, he would be really good, I guess. He
would not only be good by way of his content, but the way he actually speaks, articulates, and teaches, your audience will just madly fall in love with him. And because there's people who know their stuff, but then they get on a podcast or the stage, and maybe it's stage fright, maybe it's whatever, and they can't articulate. Jason could articulate so well, and you guys speak the same language anyway in the space you're in. I think it would be a massive value add to have Jason. If you need a connection, let me know.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Awesome. Bedros, this has been amazing. Seriously, as I said, we've come up to 40 episodes. This is the one that I was really, really looking forward to, because I followed you for a long time. So I hope that you've enjoyed it as well.
Oh my gosh, what a great opportunity. I can't wait to meet you guys in person.
Perfect. Thank you. How can the listeners find out about you? So they know how to get onto the pre-order for Man Up, but if they want to follow you across social media, where's the best?
On all 3 platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, at Bedros Keuilian. And the content that I put out there is not only from the heart, but it's actually in the trenches tested. So anything if I say this is how I made $10 million, that's exactly how I made it. I'm not holding anything back, and it's because I want to serve and give back now.
Yeah. It's refreshing. I love sort of the no bullshit attitude. I love that.
Thank you.
Akash, over to you for the outro.
Fresh out of fucks, as he said.
Yeah, fresh out of fucks. I love it.
Thank you so much, Bedros. And if anyone's enjoyed today's episode with Bedros, please share it with their friends and family. For more episodes, please subscribe to RNT Fitness Radio. For more information, please visit www.rntfitness.co.uk. And to follow us, hit us up on Instagram at RNT_fitness, at Akash Bagela, and at Anna Haley1. Thanks for listening.